Hello, strategists, generals, and soldiers of the Second World War. Welcome back to Panzer Corps Gold and playing hardball. And our operation on Crete, where we landed airborne, where we have taken control of, well, our part of the island, of our operational area, which was probably the most important one at Malem Airfield, at Georgiopoli Armor, at Retimnon Harbor, and Souda Harbor, and where we have nearly destroyed all resistance, but a little bit remains. We have also neutralized one British naval combat group consisting of 3 light cruisers and several destroyers. And we've shown that air superiority is, at least for the Mediterranean, possibly more advantageous than naval superiority. So, and the thing is, we have heard already that the British forces here are in basically big disarray, and their naval forces have suffered a blow. Even their carrier, the Illustrious, suffered a couple of bomb hits and is retreating to Alexandria. Yeah, and we need to try to press our advantage now. However, we have suffered a lot of, or we have endured a lot of local resistance, actually. Our poor Fallschirmjäger landed in an area, or like all over the island, where they landed. They encountered nasty resistance from the civilians. We even heard of cases where, like something like an old man walking up to a paratrooper that was like a Fallschirmjäger that was entangled in his parachute, and he just clubbed him to death with his walking stick, and stuff like that. So that is, of course, not very nice. The only advantage for ourselves is that we are not responsible here to maintain order. Fortunately, we are just commander of our Wehrmacht Corps, and we were just fighting here, expelling the British and the Dominion forces. And someone else has to deal with this. But we already got some orders that we are to go to the and that we have to transfer our units to Eastern Europe. And we wonder what that is. But we heard already a couple of a little bit of gossip. We got a couple of messages that there is possibly an attack on the Soviet Union, coming up very soon. Now it's May 1941. So, good thing is that we were rather quick over here. Let's continue with it. We do have our engineers here, our Blitz pioneers. We will shoot these guys. So the engineers weren't necessary, actually. And you guys drive there. Take that city. What can we do, you guys? And actually, you can also drive into the city. You drive there. And we can't really support you. Also, being close to this Matilda 2 is terrifying. However, we do have a plan, of course. And we have planes in the air, right? You guys are just normal Gebirgsjäger. Alright, then you go there. You drive there. Them. Right. Not destroying them though. You can't drive around. But I guess maybe... you can't even So you guys fly there. Oh no, that's a pity. Well then. So we are just approaching. Drive around like so. Just preparing for a massive air raid. Yeah, and it doesn't look like there's anything going on in the sea, right? No, because we would have seen whatever it is already. So you guys drive up, everybody else. Yeah. So these guys, these must be the unit that suffered a close combat, a close quarter attack by Maori, New Zealandish forces, like the indigenous people of New Zealand, who attacked with the Baïonnet charge, right? These guys, tough guys. We were impressed. Yeah. So I guess our guys around there will not be in time around to help out, right? No, they won't. These guys, we can just leave them here. Also, it's doubtful that anything of significance will happen now here in the western part. And we are not attacking these guys. So there we go now. Now actually you can drive there. Attack them. You guys. Very good. You should surrender. They are not surrendering. But now we can drive back, and now you guys drive in. You guys are actually Panzer 4, so you drive there. Or you drive there. And they bought some stuff. So, but maybe we can actually destroy them by air, right? We don't have, we have many more planes anyway. And I guess you guys, yeah, you are possibly the best suited. Destroy. Very good. No casualties on our side. Very good. Drive up. Now let us bombard. Bombarding the city. You guys bombard them. And some fighter planes. Oh, nice. Ein Cross second class. Very good shot. You guys. BF-109. Some tanks. Oh, wow. That was an excellent run. You guys are better suited to attack the tanks. However, they would flee here. So actually we are not positioned very nicely. So you attack this. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Ah, you can't go there. Alright, then. But you guys can go there. So you go here. You drive there. Ah, yeah, that's very sad. You guys go here. He goes there. Alright, looks like we even need another turn. And they will just start, continue shooting at us. So let's switch. Alright. Oh yeah, good. Not running. Panzer IV is of course not the best one. Oh, but on the other hand, well, he's not as good as Panzer III H. 2 points less. Oh. But it's fine. So, and you guys, you could destroy one possibly. Well, the unit commander had estimated that he wouldn't have any casualties to do this attack. And that happens when he's wrong. So, next turn. They don't do anything. Alright. Let's fly there. There. Now you bombard there. Fly here. You don't do anything yet. Alright, very good. Now they are gone. You guys go here. Bombard. Infantry. Or even it's HW infantry, right? Yeah. Tough guys. And 5 are suppressed, so let us do another strike. Do we have you guys are also at maximum? But we'll use a strategic strike, so their defensive fire is of no concern for us. Panzer IV. Let's have you, because you are at strength 12. Like so. Pioneers. Go here. Attack. Very nice. And they are not surrendering, alright. We don't have any more infantry. You guys finish them off. Very good. And there we go. Victory is ours. So that is Crete. And of course we would think that that now we would press our advantage, decisive victory, that we would press our advantage and actually go for Alexandria, Malta and Gibraltar to press our advantage to really disrupt the British supply lines. So the British are forced to send their ships around the Horn of Africa, like around South Africa. But here we can see Operation Barbarossa is coming up. Operation Mercury has proved an astounding success. Well done, Herr General. The Balkans are now fully under our control. The remnants of the British and their allies have fled to Africa, and our southern flank has finally been totally secured. This campaign is just getting started, though. Your new orders are to quickly prepare your troops for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Yeah. So, and to stop the role-playing, the real history in a nutshell was that the German High Command / Hitler only wanted to secure the flank, apparently, so they still hoped that the British would kind of give up, make peace, and stop fighting. Although they explicitly had said that they would fight to the end at this point. But yeah, and well, the Luftwaffe continued raiding Malta. But instead of just raining it, like bombing it to oblivion and then occupy the island, there was no further move on that island, that from where the Luftwaffe could have controlled the Mediterranean area around that, and significantly hampered the shipping lanes there. Yeah. And as Franco, the Spanish dictator, we remember the Legion Condor helped him come in power, and establish his dictatorship in Spain. But he didn't want to get involved, and also had his hands full with the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War. So he didn't want to support Nazi Germany in an attack for Gibraltar, and it appears that he even refused the Germans to go through the Spanish territory to attack Gibraltar from land. So such a plan was also cancelled. Yeah, and well, in 1941, actually General Rommel was relatively successful in Northern Africa, but was not able to beat the British in Egypt, yet at least. Yeah, but the big thing happened now in 41, and there's actually an interesting controversy. So here, let's first start with the mission description, and then I'll tell a little bit. So with the start of Operation Barbarossa, it's June 22nd, 1941. So just a couple of days later, right? After the battle for Crete. Oh, and before I forget it, so in Crete, that was like history's first grand airborne assault, actually. Yeah, and well, the thing is that the casualties were really high, and that was the case because the German attack plans were known to the British in detail, because they had cracked the Enigma encryption device, of course. So that was why it wasn't a surprise attack. The Germans were unaware of that, of course. And the British were rather smart, so they had some anti-air guns, for example, that they had placed around the airfields, and they knew about the German doctrine to try to occupy airfields and then send in reinforcements on that given conquered airfield. And they had anti-tank guns around that were camouflaged and that were not fired with at attacking attacking German aircraft. But when the real invasion came, they of course shot with some good surprising effect, at the German aircraft. However, the British made also basically a strategic mistake, because they didn't disable the airfields on Crete, because they wanted to use them for themselves later on. So they underestimated the German forces. However, the Germans also significantly underestimated the British forces on the island. So they thought it was like one third of what they were in real numbers. So I think it was like they had around, I think, about 15,000, I think, and the Germans thought they were just 5,000 or so, if I'm not mistaken. And the populace and all the units on Crete were aware of the exact time the Germans would come. And the paratroopers, of course, were very vulnerable, and also had a tactic, that was maybe not ideal, not ideal too, not very smart, because most of the Fallschirmjäger dropped off with only handguns, like pistols and hand grenades, and only 1/4 of them had machine pistols, which of course also only have a limited range of effective shooting. and their weapons were dropped in weapon cases, and of course they had to go to reach the area where their equipment came down. So, and most of them were just shot, either even when being in the air or after landing, but not being able to defend themselves. Yeah, and then of course the populace attacked the Fallschirmjäger as well, which firstly, like the stiff civil defense, firstly surprised the Germans very much and later outraged them, and that actually led to significant war crimes. Yeah, because they they couldn't really help themselves. They weren't, of course, trained for such a situation, but to try to maintain order, they reacted very harshly. One fact, of course, was that these partisans didn't use any kind of identification. So what partisans usually have to do to be recognized as combatants is that they have to use armbands or headbands or something, and the Greeks didn't use that. So formally, I think, if I'm correctly informed, they were allowed to be directly prosecuted by military tribunals or something, and didn't have the right, I think, to like a civil trial or something. But of course, the reactions were very harsh. The Nazi German troops burned down villages, committed massacres, and the person responsible for it, like the commander of the German troops, was later prosecuted at the Nuremberg trials after the war as a war criminal and sentenced to death for what happened on Crete, and executed. So, but the aftermath was that the island was occupied, and from there the southern flank of the Germans was secured. The oil fields in Romania were safe from British bombing runs. However, the Germans, as I just explained, they didn't press the advantage. So the many ships were damaged and pulled back to Alexandria in Egypt. The British ships, of course, and the Germans didn't do anything else, basically, and rather concentrated on the Eastern Front at Barbarossa. However, there's also a controversy. There's an interesting book called Icebreaker, written by a Russian. And if I remember correctly, what was the name? I think. But I think you can, if you are interested in that, you can find it. So it's called Icebreaker, and that's based on some documents that were declassified from the Russian archives. And the thing is that there's a strong argument for the fact that actually the Soviet units were starting in secret to deploy on the border to attack the German territories, or of course, like in the east, the German occupied territories. So they weren't caught, but they still were caught by surprise, basically. But they were preparing for an assault, and they were not totally surprised. So the Soviets actually knew about the attack. There were a lot of spies, like a German communist called Sorge. He gave the Soviets even the exact time of the attack, but Stalin didn't believe it. He thought that and also it was kind of crazy, of course, to attack the Soviet Union and start a two-front war while the Germans were still in tough fighting with the British. And that is actually one of the arguments or one of the issues why it was such a weird decision. Like from the strategic point of view, it would have been way wiser to, what as I just explained in the role-playing introduction, to press the advantage and to close off the Mediterranean, for example. But the Germans also knew about these troop concentrations, although the Russians were and the Soviets were still in the build-up phase. And the actual numbers were basically catastrophic for the Germans, because the Germans had like 3,500 tanks, for example, while the Soviets had 15,000. Yeah. Just let these numbers sink in. Yeah, and that's also a strong argument, even in addition to what you can read in this icebreaker book, that the Soviets had certainly planned an assault. So it's very much debated if the assault was planned for 1941 or rather later, but there was certainly an assault coming because, like the ideology, Stalin wanted to let the Western powers destroy themselves, and then he would have easily conquered the whole of Europe, and just overrun the whole of Europe. So there were like around 5 million Soviet soldiers mobilizing, and then they also had a significant number of planes, for example. And let me just think about the numbers. For example, so the Germans attacked with about 3.5 million soldiers. While the Soviets had the same number, roughly, at the ready, and like in the front, and directly on June 22nd. But in total, I'm reading different numbers, ranging from 3.5 million to around 5 million. But aircraft-wise, for example, so the Germans also had like 3,400 airplanes around, while the Soviets had more than 10,000. The grand thing for the Germans, you could say the grand lucky thing was that they surprised the Soviets and were able to destroy a lot of these planes when they were still on the ground. But the air superiority didn't last too long. So they made some progress, of course, and some significant progress, were able to encircle many armies in the Soviet Union when they broke through. But the numbers, the tank numbers, were so surprisingly high that they couldn't reach Moscow, which was the prime target, basically. Although there was also a dispute between the generals, the German generals, and Hitler, what to do and where to go. The generals wanted to prioritize Moscow, because Moscow was not only the psychological prize, but also a center for military industrial production, and also communications node, basically. But we'll see. So let's start with this. With the start of Operation Barbarossa, armies that stretched from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea are on march against the Bolshevik. We have taken every measure possible to ensure complete secrecy for our invasion. So you should expect the first enemy units you encounter to be totally unprepared and easily swept aside. This shock will not last indefinitely, so make the most of it while it lasts. Your first mission, before you even think about going after your marked objectives, is to disable the Red Air Force. At least a dozen airfields have been spotted in this region alone, and each of them is undoubtedly home to a squadron or more of enemy aircraft. While you will encounter absolutely no initial enemy aircraft, you can be assured that should these airfields remain in Soviet hands for too long, they will fill the skies with their aircraft. To that end, you should capture as many airfields as you can, as quickly as you can. Any airfield that is captured before the Soviets go on alert will be one less airfield that can launch their fighters and bombers. To aid you in this first objective, several DO 217Es have been specially modified with extra fuel tanks at the cost of their bombs to provide forward reconnaissance for your advancing forces. Use them to scout ahead, to locate safe passage to easily captured airfields. Should you wish to use these DO 217s as bombers, however, you will need to return them to a friendly airfield first to rearm them. Your primary task, however, is to secure the city of Minsk along with as many other objectives as you can secure. If necessary, you have permission to completely bypass the fortified objective at Brest-Litovsk. However, it is absolutely imperative that Minsk falls quickly or our whole timetable will be thrown in chaos. Good luck, Herr General. Germany and the whole world is watching. So there we go. Ah yeah, we have new equipment. Interesting. Oh, finally a new artillery. I would rather have something with a longer range though. But it's fine. So, ah yeah. And some... What is it? So, is it... it looks like a transport. That's possibly very good for us. Oh yeah, it's better. Or is it? Yeah, I think so. It can drive longer. A longer range. Our other one has 5, I think. So, it looks good. We didn't have such catastrophic casualties, actually. It was pretty fine. Yeah, we are getting along with the mechanics and how to encircle units and how to press an advantage. So we do have Brest-Litovsk here, Ivavici. So it's all a wide area, wide open area. The Russian steppe. Soviet bridge engineers. So, alright, it's just one. I know, we have 3 of them, alright. Alright, so, yeah. Let's see how this goes. And that, my dear generals, we will see in the next episode. So, I hope you found this one interesting. Yeah, I like to tell a little bit about history because I'm also reading about that parallelly to these mission descriptions. It's a good opportunity to remember stuff that I personally have read sometime in the past and to enhance my knowledge. I hope you like that. Yeah, and so I appreciate it if you click the like button, and you're very welcome to join the channel as well if you haven't done so you never ever miss an episode again. See you next time. Bye bye.